Okay, if you can hear me, please raise your hand. If you can hear me, please raise your hand. Okay, Maikai, Mahalo Andui Loa. So today, I wanted to talk and reflect a little bit more to all of you about Aihe ka Hohonu o ka Mele. Where is the depth of the Mele? And the word I like to reflect on ka Hohonu o ka Mele is the word Ike. First and foremost, this word Ike. Ike is such a powerful word. Ike, knowledge. Ike, wisdom. Ike, the knowing and the understanding. Aya Ike Kumu, it's there in the source. The Hohonu is there in the source. In the teacher, the Kumu. In the God, the Kumu. In the creator, the Kumu. In the inspiration, the Kumu. It's all a part of the Kumu, the source. And the source comes in so many different manifestations. Aya ika ike ho'opili. How we adhere to following that teaching, that wisdom, that skill, and that knowledge. Aya ike au ana, in the enlightening. Very similar to aya ika ao ana, in the teaching. From the teaching, ika ao ana comes ka'au ana, the light, the enlightenment. Na au au, na au po. The darkness within the gut, the light within the gut. Being connected to the kumu. And who is the kumu? The akua, the teacher, the creator, the source. Aya ika ike ho'opili, how we cling to that light. Aya ika ike ho'opili, how we cling to that wisdom, that skill, and that knowledge. That comes from the au, from the light. Aya ika ike ana, in the knowledge, the awareness, the understanding. Aya ika ho ike ana, and how that was revealed to us, how that knowledge, that enlightenment was revealed to us, and then how we as kumu reveal that knowledge, share that knowledge. A'o ike la ike, ka'au ana oke la ike. How we teach, how we enlighten. And it all goes back to the two words as I spoke about earlier, the ike and then the kumu. Aya ika ike hanau, ike hanau, birth wisdom. The memories, parents, grandparents, and generations before, birth knowledge becomes instinct. Birth knowledge, instinct. So you come into this world and you have some memory, you have some instinct. Well, that didn't come just from you. That came from Kapanopano, way, way back then. Kekinohi, from the Kumulipo, the very emergence of life. Ayanoika ike hanalima, craftsmanship. And if your craft is poetry, mele, then the depth of that craft is part of the Hohonu Okamele. Ayano ika ike aumakua, the wisdom, the knowledge that comes through communication with your ancestors. That's part of the Hohonu Okamele. Remember now, the aumakua has communication with Mo'opuna. But remember, securing that communication comes with your ho'omawana o kapono, e PILI no mena aumakua. So the pono of the aumakua is so important to the pilina mena aumakua, the connection, and me kaho ike, o ka ike, the revelation of the knowledge. Aumakua has a great role, like Ikehanau, instinct, intuition. So you have Ikehanau, instinct, and then you have Ike which is your intuition. And we have to learn to hilina'i ikela Ike Aumakua, to really kind of trust, rely on, yeah, our Ike Aumakua, because it comes directly from our ancestral spirits. Now remember, now our ancestors are more than happy to ho'au, give knowledge, right? Na'au, to enlighten, right? But you have to take your responsibility, your full responsibility in your relationship with them. That's really, really important, because if there is no pilina, na mo'opuna amena aumakua, they're not going to come. How often do you acknowledge them? How often do you appreciate them? How often do you respect them? How often do you honor them? And how does that reflect in us today? It's how we treat our family members. Because remember, our dead kupuna and our aumakua are still members of the family. Now they have insight. They're watching us. They sit on the top of our head. And that's why our head is kapu, it's sacred. Because they all sit there. And they watch. And they listen. And believe it or not, like Ho'oponopono, they serve as the haku, the master of that Ho'oponopono session. And like the eldest member in the Ho'oponopono mets out the outcome of that Ho'oponopono, so do the Aumakua that sit Maluna Okapo'o, that sit on our heads, on our piko, because we're connected to them from there. So, tradition, yeah, tradition. If you and Hana Inu your Aumakua, you get punished. You get punished. Some sickness, yeah, some mea ma'i gonna come. Some calamity going to befall you because you in hana ino, you in disrespect, you in dishonor. With action, with waha, with whatever we do, they're going to come. They're going to ho'oponopono. They're going to correct you. They have control over that, not us. So when we like talk aumakua and ike aumakua, we have to be very clear that we're ready for the consequence, good consequences and negative consequences. Good actions, the outcome is good consequence. Bad actions, the outcome is bad consequence. I mean, that's the pono. I cannot get clearer than that. You see, that was what the kapu system was all about. Very strict rules of what you can and cannot do, and any kind of movement within the class system. The kapu system protected all of that. Very, very strict and very, very rigid. And the only escape was the pu'uhonua. Whether the pu'uhonua was the actual physical pu'uhonua or the pu'uhonua was in ali'i. So escape, and now we deal with our aumakua, and where is that escape? So when we say, oh, my kakao is my aumakua, oh, that's very powerful words. Very powerful words. Because if you would make kakao, and now you claiming that's your aumakua, and you don't give them honor and respect, what going to happen next? Those are things that will remain to be seen. Why? It all has to do with the maintenance of the pono and your honor, your respect, and your appreciation. If you don't can appreciate your father and your mother, if you cannot appreciate your grandfather and your grandmother, how you going to stand in front of me and tell me, oh, my aumakua? I'm not seeing that. And when people love to talk that talk, oh, I did this because my aumakua, and my aumakua this, my aumakua that. Okay, my kai, I would have respect for that. But I also ki ia mau maka kanana ako no ia o I tauhana ana, I will watch how you react to everything, especially to the living kupuna in your family. And if you know more that ha'a, mamu no o lako, if you don't have that humility in front of them, yeah, and nui tō waha I te ho'opa'apa'a no ia lako, and you always chide them, how are you going to tell me now you respect your aumakua? How are you going to explain that to me? And so the ike aumakua, this intuitive kind of knowledge, feelings, emotion comes when you are connected. Then you have aya ika ike loa, knowing and understanding very well, well versed and wise. If you are trained by your teachers in this particular craft tradition, ke ia mea ha Hawaii, ha because it has to do with our ha loa, yeah. Na keiki ha nau o ka aina. Ha pai ia no ka mākua hine a ha nau no a ha nai ia me ka ike no e au. So, that ike, that overwhelming ike, comes through all of these processes, and it is a major part of ka hohonu o ka mele. Hohonu is depth. You cannot be he lawai ano ke kai papa'u. You cannot be a fisherman of shallow waters. You gotta dig deep. You gotta dive deep. Then you become he lawai ano ke kai hohonu. Aya ika ike papalua. The gift of two sights. The sight in the earthly realm and the sight in the spiritual realm. The wisdom and knowledge of understanding earthly things and the wisdom and knowledge of understanding spiritual things. The ability to be able to communicate with spirits, your ancestors, because that's the ones you want to communicate with. Not with uhane lapuvale, not with wandering spirits, but with the spirits of your ancestors. And that's a part of the ao, the enlightenment, and the pono. Supernatural knowledge. Now, as a composer of mele, this is the kind of guidance that you want as you compose your mele. You want to be in tune, in alignment. Ho o pili no a paapono me na au makua no ke kaumaiana la o ka ike a iloko nei. Iloko nei no ke ia hakuana pili no me ke kokua o na au makua. And when they come and settle that wisdom, that knowledge, that skill, which becomes the intuition, yet the intuition is still part of the greater knowledge that comes from the aumakua. Yeah. Then you're able to do these things, and people are going to say, how does this person do that? How is this person able to do that? Well, we gotta backtrack. We gotta really backtrack and look at this hohonu, the depth, and then look at the noeau, the skill, and look at the ike, the many forms of ike, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And did I learn this in college? I never went to college to understand poetry. I went to my kupuna. A imi no wau iki ia kuleana ka hakuana o na mele, ka ho'o hakuana o na olelo, me na po e kupuna. I went to study with my grandparents, my grand uncles, my grand aunts, my teachers. No lako no, me ka ho'o pili, ka ho'o maupopo pono ana o ke ia kuleana. And with them, and being so close to them, sticking very close to them and these relationships. This is how I learned. And then we have to ask ourselves, what is the proper way? What is the pono of the hakumele? Ka hele ana no i ke kula ki e ka ke kula nui, ka hele ana no i ke kula nui a na ke kumu I loko o ke kula nui o ka hele ana no I mena po e kupuna. So which is important? See, you guys have a unique privilege. You guys get one kupuna that's a school teacher in this class. So the reflections are going to be different. Even the teaching style is going to be different. Why? Because we want everybody to succeed. And why? Because we're imparting values. Why? Because we are ho'ovehevehe, explaining. This doesn't happen naturally, or does it? Vahi ina mono no ka no no ana no na po e kupuna no ke ia ike. And this is why I made that choice back then. To live with them, be with them, interact with them, communicate with them, follow them. Ka ho'opili no e na po e kupuna. Because this knowledge, he vai nui ka pono o nā kupuna. He vai hanai no nā mo'opuna. A oia ho'i ha. The knowledge of our kupuna is of so great value. And these are the waters that I wanted to be nourished with. Me, ke ia mo'opuna. I knew back then. I knew back then what was happening. Ike papalua. Ike. Ike. I knew. Ike aumakua. Intuitive. Ike hanau. Instinct. I knew what was happening. I made the choice back then. I made the choice back then. And so when you talk about this Ike Papalua, then you cannot discount the Akaku, the Ho'ailona, the Moi Uhane, and the Ulaleo. And these are channels of communication, Mena Aumakua. The Akaku, the vision, having visions, seeing visions. The Akaku, the Ulaleo, hearing the spirit voice. The Moi Uhane, the dreams, and the Ho'ailona, the signs as they appear in nature. And being able to read and understand all of this. Where did that come from? It comes from the kupuna. Because they can ho ike, reveal, they can ho vehe explain, and they can ho pili, they can connect you to those things. And they can mo olelo and tell you the story. Why? They get the ike, the knowledge, the hohonu, the depth, kamaupopopono, and the true understanding. So, there's no other way. There's no other way. That's where the hohonu of the Mele comes from. It comes from kupuna. Aya ika ikepono. Because they have the clarity, they can impart the clarity to you so that you know definitely and understand these things. I had kupuna that imparted those things to me. And so now I have great joy in imparting to my children, my grandchildren, my students. It is kuleana, responsibility. Haya ikano eo, the kupuna revealed the skill. And the more you do, the more skill you will gain. Try to do as much skill as you can with them so they can guide and assist you as you build that skill and that knowledge. Aya ikanoea o ka ho'ohaku ana, ka ho'ohaku ana. Remember the braiding? The braiding of the three components of the mele is a great part of the Hohonu o ka mele. How many of you even knew about the braiding and the three components, the literal meaning, the story, and then the kauna woven as one? You know what? I've not been telling this story recently. I just found an old tape, a recording of me at a lecture 20 something years ago that I talk about the very same things. So, my teaching, the teaching that came from Kupuna, that started a long time ago. A long time ago. And I have hundreds and hundreds of cassette tapes of all of my lectures. This was not something I dreamt of yesterday. This has been a long process. So, I remember I wrote a song once. He ike ikanani aopoe kawahine ha'aleva ha'aleva ike kai. And when that song came out, it was recorded by Sean, beautifully done. And then he took me down to Diamond Head, yeah, Black Point, and we did a video. And then the next thing I heard was, how does he write these kinds of mele? He must be in league with the devil. He's working with the devil. And here is where comes the misunderstanding. You mean all those 50 years of writing mele, all those years working with kupuna, all those years studying Olelo with them, all those years of working on all of this, how do we not value the Ike of Kupuna, but we value the Ike of the Palapala, now known as the doctorate, because get plenty, Polopeta. Yeah? Are we doing the right thing today? I mean, do we understand what we're doing when we don't put knowledge on the things that are ours, our Kuleyana, our tradition, our way, and we're going to value the Western way? Unless we get balance, not going to have harmony, and always going to have dissension. Oh my God, I never just wake up yesterday and started writing Mele. That started 50 plus years ago. And the continuity, the perpetuation, the dedication of doing that. And that was the response. Oh, he only can write this kind Mele like this so fast, so quick because he's in league with the devil. You can think what you like, my kai. Think what you like, my kai. But don't disvalue all the education that took place with all of my teachers, all of the kupuna, all of those people who trained me in these traditions. That's not my kai. And again, as kanakamauli, as ivihanau o kaaina, as keiki o kaaina, we have to once and for all look into the depth, ka hohonu, of our own culture and value the depth within the bearers of that ike hohonu. Value their training, value their ike, and value their commitment to educating. Oya ho'iha. Oya ho'iha. Finally, I would say this. Aya ka hohonu o ka mele, i ka ike ku hohonu. Aya ka hohonu o ka mele, i ka ike ku hohonu o ka mele. And there it is. All of that becomes part of the deepest knowledge and insight to our tradition. Ka ike ku hohonu o ka mele.